Hello YouTube world. Got a little subject I want to kind of touch base on, tackle head on. I was in a hangout last night with a couple of people, and after it went off air, there's only a handful left. And I'm not going to name any names. I'm going to touch on the subject about, and again, you know, this view is outside looking in type of deal. I've had a group of motovloggers welcome me into their circle of friends. I am by no stretch of imagination a motovlogger. I do not have a bike yet. I do intend to. I will eventually get to the point to where this is something I would attempt to do. And the thing I want to touch base on is the so-called popular, really big people. Some motovloggers with a really big subscription base, and the couple of people that seem to have a real distaste, I guess you could say. And what makes me want to touch this subject was there was someone that I was kind of talking to back and forth to where it was basically just me and him. He has a whole lot of built-up rage for a particular one because he said he lives around the same area, and I don't know if it's just being upset because of success or if it's something else. I mean, he says it's fearing for his safety, but I told him, I said, you know, there's, if you don't agree with what he does in his videos and you know, don't support him, don't subscribe, don't comment, you know, don't watch his videos. And I really think he was in search of just something to be upset about until eventually he just switched topics. And you know, a little bit more of a disclaimer here. I consider myself a conservative. I have very conservative views. I'm also a little bit of a libertarian leanings, which conservative is basically straight and narrow, nothing crazy, and the libertarian leanings is basically live and let live. You know, do whatever you want to do, just don't try to involve me in it. I'm a very live and let live kind of person, and he eventually calmed down. I don't know if he just got on a tantrum, but I thought this was a subject that would need touched. And the way I look at it, the way I approach the subject is in the whole concept of, you know, there are some vloggers that have got enough of a fan base and enough of a watch ratio that they can actually live off of what they're making from YouTube. And I applaud them for it. You know, that's amazing. You know, I always thought that the concept was, if you can find your niche and your niche market and make money while doing it and enjoy doing it, I always thought that was the idea. And I grew up, you know, my dad was the sole source of income. he worked a full-time job and then established his own business on the side for years. What that translates to was I didn't see a whole lot of my dad. And when I did start to see him was when I started working with him. But I really didn't have what you would call a true father-son relationship until much later in life. Because when I was still in school and throughout the summer when I worked for him, I viewed him more as like my boss and not really a father figure. I mean, obviously, he was there, but it was weird. I can't explain it. I more viewed him as like a boss. And I don't know if it was just because that was just how I always came to associate, with work. You have the person that tells you what to do, and that's your boss, or what. But when I heard, when the person started going off about how he was worried about, like a lot of motovloggers like to do wheelies in their videos. That's fine. They want to do it. I have no problem with it. I'm not going to be one that's going to try or attempt to. I'm way past that stage. I've gotten speed out of my system, but or the need to go fast out of my system. But there's a time and a place for it. I understand that. I know people, and most of the time they're doing it just to get views, subscriber base, keep their fans interested. And like I tried to tell him, everyone starts out, I'm sure he was a great person. It's like anything else. Fame gets to anybody no matter who you are. It happens. It's hard. But you have to remember that I'm sure they came from modest beginnings. I'm sure they was someone that appreciated every subscriber. I'm sure they still do. They might come, I tried to tell him, sometimes they might come off a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Cocky, I guess. And I've watched the same videos he's talking about. I don't think they're cocky at all. I think they're just doing what they've been doing. They enjoy doing it. And, and like I tried to tell, you don't have to support them. It's your choice. And the whole concept of the whole community getting too big to know everybody, that does happen. I came from, the first quote-unquote group I was part of. The first, 3 or 4 conventions I went to, I had an amazing time. The attendance level was maybe 2,000-3,000 people, was about perfect. And then over the years, excuse me, it blew up to such a big attendance base. It's just hard to keep up with people, and when you get to such a big base like that, that's when a lot of people start focusing on the smaller circle of friends. They're not as inclined to reach out and try to befriend everyone. That's just natural. At least I think it is. Most people go through life, they only have maybe 3 or 4 really close friends that they continue to keep in touch with. And the rest are just extended relationships. Or acquaintances. It's really hard to keep up with a big amount of friends. It can happen. There are some people that can do it. More power to them. But when you start communities, and when the communities start to grow, excuse me again. And I'm guilty of this. I went to the said convention last year by myself. None of my close friends went. Some of the acquaintances I knew were there, but they were busy with their close circle of friends. And that made me really sit back and examine, is it worth going to it the following year? Because, I mean, obviously, no one I knew was able to make it because of financial reasons. But I went last year just to see if I could still go by myself and still have a good time. I mean, I talked to people. I took video. I mean, I had a decent time, but I wasn't like... I guess you could say I was turned off by not really being able to connect with some of my other acquaintances. But that's just me being thick-headed and spoiled, I think. And yes, I am vlogging while I'm driving. Sorry, my throat was getting scratchy, getting dry. But I really think that, I understand the whole concept of a lot of the younger generation, expects a lot more than the generation before them. I'm young enough and close enough to that gap that, I mean, there's stuff that I even think is crazy, but I'm sure I'm guilty of the same stuff. I think the problem is some people are too quick to judge and they won't sit back and look at themselves. But that might just me being a very modest person. I've always been very modest. I'm not someone that thinks that I'm the only one that can do my job. That's just how I was brought up. That's how my dad raised me, was to never be too cocky, I guess. And in reality, I mean, that's true. I mean, do the best you can do, and if what you're doing doesn't seem to be your niche, I mean, if you enjoy doing it, do it for yourself, not because you think it's something you have to do. Do what you want to do. I mean, is my job I do, my choice job I don't want to do? Of course not. I've done it so long that it's not really a job to me anymore. It's just second nature, because I've done it so much with my dad when I was in school. I don't view it as a job. I view it as second nature. I mean, and some people would consider that to be the job to look for, something that you don't resent every day. I mean, obviously there's days I'll wake up I don't want to go, but I still go anyway. It's just second nature. The whole vlogging thing is something I came to because it was something that kind of interested me, and I wanted to try my hand at it. I'm not claiming to be the best. Lord knows, my train of thought's pretty random at times. And like anyone else, I spend about 70-80% of my day on the road. I mean, I do interact with people, but when I'm driving between places, I talk to myself. I'll admit it. Everyone talks to themselves, and especially when you're on a motorcycle. If you don't have earphones or some type of a sound set up in your helmet, especially if you're riding for more than 30-40 minutes, you get bored. And I can understand the concept of talking to yourself, and I can understand the concept of vlogging, because if you're going to talk to yourself, you might as well try to be entertaining while you do it, and try to get a fan base. And as far as all that goes, I mean, you figure if you can, and again, as far as like the whole vlogging thing, I discovered it before I discovered motovlogging, and the vlogger I discovered and kind of get me interested in doing it, and actually the concept of a second income is what interested me. I mean, I'll admit it. You know, do I want to try to make money doing this? Yes. Do I want to do I want to make enough money to quit my job and do this full time? I would have to see how that goes. Would I do it if it was possible? If I enjoy doing it, maybe. You know, I'll admit it. You know, a second income is always nice. If you can swing it on to one income, that's fine too. But if it's something that you kind of enjoy doing and you are good at it, why not do it? And if you get to the point to where you realize that the income scale either starts to match up or starts to be offset by the other, and if you enjoy doing it, why not? I mean, isn't the American dream to do what you enjoy doing, and if you could find your enjoyment while also work from home, I guess you could say, do it. Don't let worrying about how other people will view you just because of what you're doing. And back to, you know, again, I switched from my train of thought. But I discovered vlogging from a guy, and I'm going to drop his name because he's been doing it for so long. His name is Chris Perillo. If you look him up on YouTube, he's a vlogger. He basically does slice of life. He records himself throughout the day. He does, he used to run, or he still runs a website. He used to be on a channel called, when it was called Tech TV. He used to run the thing. He's basically a self-made person. I have a lot of respect for him, and, you know, and the concept that he basically supports himself on what he does is amazing. He lives in an amazing house. He has an amazing wife. But again, back to what I'm trying to talk about. You get, I just don't understand. I mean, how can you have such built-up disdain for somebody because they found success? You know, like as far as me, you know, I don't have very many. If I would get a bunch, I'd be tickled to death that people feel that enough to subscribe and watch my videos. For the number of people I have now, I am very thankful for. And I wouldn't have connected with half of them if it wasn't for a certain vlogger. Motovlogger, he knows who he is. You have no idea how thankful I am, and I hope to be able to meet you in person within the next couple of years. I really hope I can swing it. And I don't know. I'm starting to wander off topic. But let's close it here. You know, like for me, before I found into this, before I fell into the vlogging thing, there's another thing I did that involved DDR, Dance Revolution, and Pump It Up. I still have passion for it. I still enjoy doing it. I just don't have the money or the time to do it. And I need to build my own machine to do it. But at one time, what I'm getting at is Pump It Up used to have what's called a supporter system. What it was basically people that was sponsored by Anna Maria herself, the company that was responsible for the game Pump It Up. And what it was they were basically sponsored by the company to basically be spokesmen and organize tournaments and stuff like that. They've since quit doing the supporter system long ago. The people that were supporters are still considered part of Anna Maria, but they don't hire supporters anymore. But at one time, I was trying really hard to get into that group. And my intent was, if you find something you love, push hard, do all you can to help it. As far as this vlogging thing, I was unsure the first couple of times, but once you start building a support group, I guess you could say, it makes you want to do it more. So I guess you can say this is more of try to be like a voice of reason. Before you pass judgment on someone else because you think how they're being, take a step back, look at yourself. I do that every day throughout my day. I step back and look at myself before I pass judgment. That's just how I do it. That's how I've always done it. And I think when you do that, I think that makes you a better person. I mean, that's just how I was brought up. But I think I'm going to stop it right here. Thank you for watching. I am still I'm still trying to do what little video editing I can. It's been a learning experience so far. It's kind of weird because I'm a pretty tech savvy guy, but when it comes to video editing, I'm a complete dumbass. But anyway, I'm going to end it here. It's already way longer than I intended it to be. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.